Уважаемые коллеги,
Distinguished colleagues, a very good morning. My name is Vladimir Averbakh, and I am Senior Managing Director of Sberbank. You know, we are now at a critical juncture, when we found out that the AI technology is the key for 21st century. Well, with respect to its advancement and evolution and the plans for future, I want to talk with Deputy Minister of Economic Development, Vladislav Fedulov, who will talk the evolution of the AI on the country national level. So over to you, and the contribution of the Economic Ministry. Very good day, dear friends. Hello, Vladimir. I'll start with the formal points enumerating the legal frameworks that we are guided by as a ministry. Back in 2019, President of the Russian Federation approved the national blueprint for AI development. This is a key instrument that defines the main areas of development of the AI. And we professed a comprehensive approach. We will be supportive of the R&D, which is number one. Number two, the development of software and design thereof. And definitely data quality that go hand in hand with that to learn and train AI. And definitely the hardware part also that would need for the deployment of the AI technology, so that the solutions are generally or totally domestic-made, and regulatory acts and laws and bylaws and rules and norms definitely make the backbone of that strategy. And to implement that, the government has been working hard in order to deliver on all these areas. A federal project titled The Artificial Intelligence was elaborated, which is much more detailed and specific, with specific initiatives and undertakings and responsible parties designated. And just to mention a point that is of everybody's concern, I want to say that for 2021 to 2024, we have appropriated 24 billion rubles from the federal budget, and the project was approved back in 2020, and this year saw the launch of that. And the Economic Development Ministry is only one of the federal authorities in charge. Also, we have the Digital Ministry on board. They are responsible for the programs. We also have the Higher Education Ministry involved, Ministry of Trade and Industry on board, providing for the hardware part, and other federal authorities that we need implementing some of the measures and steps. And it is noteworthy that back in 2019, when the strategy was about to be approved, we concluded an agreement between Sberbank and the government of the Russian Federation. And back then I was not in charge. And Vladimir just may ask me, like, whether Sberbank, as a financial institution, I just want to ask you why Sberbank, as a financial institution, wants to tackle that. Thank you for your question. I will say at the outset that we are client-oriented in our action. More than 3 years ago, we launched the AI transformation of Sber. It was called Sberbank back then, now it's Sber, based on the AI. This program has the AI at its core, at its heart. And when we started deploying that, within Sberbank, we faced some hard times. We had to design software and create models and teach models and go all the path from the design to deployment and scaling up. So we have been deploying AI in all the banking processes, like the solvency assessment and up to placement of bills within ATMs. And one of the key things and achievements of ours is like 7 minutes to receive a loan. Previously, it took 21 days since they filed in an application with a thick file of documents. Now, a big chunk of credits and loans takes only 7 minutes to issue. So definitely we worked hard to optimize our business patterns and fit in the AI solutions like the text recognition and the essence recognition, graphic algorithms, and decision-making algorithms that match these patterns. Well, the financial benefit of the digital transformation is huge. In 2025, the benefit would be around 40 billion rubles for us in savings, and back in 2019, we already faced and had an encounter with this technology. Our president and chairman of the board, Sber has been professing the stewardship of his, and he believes that the AI is a key solution for the 21st century. So he's a champion of the AI, and that was backed by the Prime Minister and President of this country, and we headed the working group on the AI development together with the government, the business community, and the experts on board. And it's noteworthy that the key stakeholders and people are still with us. And we developed an alliance for the AI, and the competences and skills that we have developed and accumulated, we submit them to the government. By and large, I think that the AI evolution and development has 3 main pillars: science and research, education, and practical application. Let's start with R&D. So what is being done by the government from the perspective of science and R&D? Can you tell me? I'm going to speak of that later. Mr. Graf has been professing this slogan, the motto that to stay abreast, you need to run faster and faster. So this is why I know why we decided to ink this agreement with Sberbank for 30 years to come. With respect to the pillars that you mentioned, you are quite right, and now we are having very many technological novelties coming to the fore worldwide. And it is quite hard to leap over stages. You can't start using a computer unless you have power supply. So both the government and the nation trying to deploy this or that technology, or recommending some guidelines to businesses and companies. Obviously, everybody wants to possess this competence inside the country domestically. to see the buying and the adoption thereof. So it starts with R&D, and we are not among the leaders as of today. If we cite some numbers, and probably we discuss them at government meetings and with the expert community, like, to make an indication, I want to say that in 2020, 4,000 articles on AI were made public in Russian Federation in 2020, and in China the number was 40,000. As regards the most prestigious conferences and articles, we trail even farther. Only 40 articles of Russian authors, and the French made public 366, and US colleagues had more than 5,000 articles published, and the Germans around 500 articles. But to improve our standing, this country will set up research centers, and we pre-selected 6 ones this year. They include Skoltech, Physical Technological University, High School Economic, ITMO, Innopolis University, and System Programming Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences. We plan that these centers will become the focal points for the development of AI-related R&D in science. For 2021 to 2024, we will earmark more than 5 billion rubles to support them. Well, definitely we are aware that comparing that to the Chinese numbers or American numbers and funds would put us in the inferior position, and now we are looking for additional sources to support these centers and pursue cooperation with them. And by the by, during that pre-selection, I can say that Sberbank is an industrial partner to at least 3 of them, of these focal points. And I wonder, apart from these 3, do you support any other scientific research? Well, yes, we believe that science and research, by and large, should be one of the priorities for the AI advancement. And Sberbank has an AI lab, and the researchers and team members have been set up as a separate unit, and AIJ, which is a non-for-profit organization established by Sberbank, which is AI Institute, doing breakthrough solutions to resolve social, economic, and natural science objectives and goals. The flagship areas include, and it was subject to a call on the fusion brain model, which is a multimodal model. It may include either images or text or recordings and other things that this model can process and compute. Currently, we have come up with multimodal skills that can combine processing images and texts. And with the help of the colleagues, the Rudali model was deployed, which is the first DALI model, allowing to compute images and some texts. If you type a word or a sentence in Russian, a picture will appear, a relevant picture. So this is a sample of a multi-modal model. So partnering with 3 out of the preselected educational establishments, I must say that Sberbank did that deliberately, and we had a 4th partner. Now we have higher HSCs, Coltech and MFTI currently, and the design of the contest is quite appropriate, as the scientific research should not only stay inside those academic institutions, they should be commercialized by the industrial partners. In this respect, we'll have these outcomes, strategic outcomes of the research and applied outcomes. Together with you, Vladislav, we have been doing the design of that call and contest for quite a while. And I recall discussions whether we should have the industrial partners and what should be their funding contribution, and the rate of 30% of the extra budgetary funding from the industrial partners is the happy trade-off that we have been able to strike. By and large, the centers that we support will do research and come up with solutions to run and manage robotics and autonomous vehicles and lean AI, which is reducing the carbon footprint while training and teaching and executing models, because a lot of power is consumed by the hardware, and powerful servers are required. So to reduce the carbon footprint of the data centers, the green AI technology and solution is put in place. Thank you for the discussion of the research. I suggest we should start discussing another priority, which is supporting the AI developers. What support Russian startups may count on within the federal project? Okay, startups are a unique thing, a unique phenomenon. So people that launch new projects, they are agile, energetic, and they are visionaries. So we can't leave them without support. And this government has a lot of tools to support startups. There are plenty of them, and most of the people dealing with the digital technology know them. If we discuss the AI, and this project in particular, we definitely are mindful of that, because some of the tools are aimed at AI developers in order to enhance our competences and attract many more startup teams. For all the startups, there are 3 most important things that they encounter during their life cycle, from zero to hero. So first of all, product development, and that needs raising money or attracting funding. And during the journey, the startuppers get aware that they need to develop entrepreneurial skills apart from being good developers, and we know that. And we have suggested some of the tools, like at the outset, when a young company or an individual cannot attract external investments, they can receive a grant of up to 4 million rubles. So you can approach us with an idea and try to implement that. The Foundation for Innovation Support and Assistance has the project AI1. It is the Bortnikov Fund, yes. The projects that have the MVP to present, they can receive up to 8 million rubles from the Bortnikov Fund. And this is called AI2. More mature projects may receive up to 20 million rubles to commercialize and enter the market. That is done via the AI development contests and commercialization contests, and the Bortnikov Foundation is in charge. In the last two examples, I mean the commercialization and development co-funding of around 30% is required, and we believe that, like, if there is a ready product that is bankable, we assume that private investors would get interested. And at the start, I mentioned three main things that startups care for, and definitely we also have the acceleration programs for startups, enhancing their and boosting their soft skills and improving their awareness of what their clientele might need and how to advertise their solutions and products. By and large, out of the sum that I mentioned at the outset, the government will spend around 7 billion rubles to support the AI developers. This year, no less than 140 teams will receive grants for commercialization, and another 100 teams will receive grants to pursue acceleration programs. So with respect to Startup 1 and Startup 2, we're still open to receive new products, so you can still submit. The call is at this point open. Please submit, subscribe, and there is another track under this project. We are supporting teams that come up with open AI libraries, open source AI libraries. It's the Bortnikov Fund once again, and developers, including individuals, may receive of up to 10 million rubles to pursue and develop open libraries, and it is also still open to collecting applications. I think it is a non-standard solution to support open source libraries, and when we discussed that, we came to the conclusion that the open source community of the Russian developers going international is a strategic step, and I would invite everybody who is willing to participate in the creation of Russian open source libraries. You can participate in Startup 1 and Startup 2, and everybody is invited to participate. Vladislav, we have mentioned small-scale companies or startups that are at an early stage, but in this country we have lots of mid-sized or big companies. What is your take? Do you think that in our sectors of the economy and in social sphere, are we successful in deploying the AI, and will the government be supportive, and what measures are taken? It is a very good question, a pertinent one. Like, I must respond that supporting a deployment of a technology, a solution, is not an aim in itself, and this may have two aspects. Let me start with the maturity aspect and whether an entity is ready to deploy this or that solution. You cannot deploy something that doesn't meet the needs of a company. So we will try to assess the key industries like healthcare, transport, agriculture, and others, the level of maturity and the need for AI, and the uptake possibility. It is not for the sake of punishing or incentivizing anyone. We just need to be clear about strong and weak points of each of the sectors, and we should respond properly and use the pertinent support measures and steps. They will be targeted depending on a company. Now we have provided a pilot assessment of the level of AI deployment in industry, and only 11% of industrial companies use AI-related solutions. Mostly major and mid-sized companies with revenue exceeding 30 billion rubles. And it must be said that the AI technology that these companies deploy are used on manufacturing sites and for the sake of security. These are the most obvious areas in which the enterprises are ready to invest. So the main problem is the lack of skilled personnel. Now, from the perspective of what we have done for the mature companies, I must say that we were able to fund pilot mechanisms to deploy AI with them. The innovative but not yet fully tested solutions that can further be scaled up, and that will be a proof positive that the AI solutions can help solve problems and the business process becomes more client-oriented. The Skolkovo Foundation is the responsible operator, and we have earmarked more than 5 billion rubles from the federal budget with the funding from the company. So if a company wants to deploy an AI solution that is a novel one that has not yet been applied, the Skolkovo Foundation may support that and help a company do that. With regards to major companies, this year we'll provide such type of assistance, and if it turns efficient, we definitely will follow up on that. So if companies that want to pilot AI solutions are listening to us now, please turn to the Skolkovo Foundation, the operator of that support measure. Well, Sber, being the bigger Sber, with lots of services and companies on board and under the umbrella, do you help your spin-offs? Well, thank you for the question. Before telling you what services we have to offer, I must say that we have the methodology of assessing the impacts from the AI deployment, and that is available upon demand. There are 5 criterions: pace, quality, impartiality, economic feasibility, and targeted approach, personalized approach. With respect to pace and speed, we assess whether there has been a speed up of a process after the deployment of an AI solution. With the help of this methodology, we have been able to assess the impact of AI for different sectors, and we are seeing that the deployment allows to see multifold growth or multifold reduction with respect to the latency or downtime of process implementation.
AIJ would allow to evaluate better the experience of implementing those technologies for enterprises and to make better decisions that the AI is really needed for the enterprise and what should be the extent of its implementation. We see the demand growth for industrial-based solutions using AI, and we in Sber are handling developing of different services like services for agriculture. For agriculture, we have the full scale, the full line of those services, of such services, starting from a service for forecasting of crops, AI agricultural tool, to the service of tracking the field history. It is very important not to seed twice the sunflower crops on the field, because the field is not usable a few years in a row. If this practice is continued, it is very detrimental for the field. We can also track down the statistics for track users. This is very good for companies who buy different pieces of land in different locations, dozens of hundreds of thousands of hectares. They buy those fields, and they need the automated support. They need the automated evaluation using artificial intelligence. Also, we can track the boundaries of the field, what crops are planted there, and we can even track down the diseases which can be found on different pieces of land. Speaking about the agriculture, we can say that Cognitive Agropilot is the cognitive pilot company product, which, and this company implements its solutions on pilotless tractors and agricultural equipment. This is our subsidiary, which is quite efficient in this regard. Of course, we have Christofari Super PC, supercomputer, which can be used by industrial companies, and Sber Cloud Services, our subsidiary company, which provides data center and infrastructure as a service for computations, ML space, which can be used by data scientists for DevOps models and basically for the whole process, starting from the development to the implementation of these models on the industrial scale for industrial implications. Vladislav, I'd like to ask you, if possible, I was looking at the results of the surveys on the industrial topics. It is very interesting to see that no regulation challenges are mentioned. They are, well, they take very low priority. It means that industrial companies do not experience any difficulties with regulation. Is it necessary to tackle regulation? I understand that this is the main activity of the state, to regulate something, but to what extent is it important for the industry which is being under development yet? The state is dealing with regulation, of course. This is the main activity, and as any other types of regulation, especially new technologies, should be widely discussed by public first. Secondly, if there is an attempt to regulate something from the state, the most important thing not to over-regulate it, to avoid a situation when you won't be able to apply it afterwards. Also very important, we shouldn't do any harm during implementation. Since the technology is new, its implementation, as we just discussed, can be provided for mature enterprises or mature industries. We feel very strongly and very carefully, we do very careful regulation. We have a regulation development concept for artificial intelligence, and along with this concept we try to work. As you know, last month we carried out the first forum for AI ethics, during which the National Code of Ethics for Artificial Intelligence was signed. It is very important that Russian companies joined those initiatives. Ethics and artificial intelligence on one hand, and well, sitting here in Moscow, we perceive it normally. But indeed, our citizens, very many people, have a bunch of prejudice for this due to different reasons, due to some fantastic books, films, movies, or just mistrust with this technology. So the ethical aspect of the artificial intelligence is a very important topic. Well, speaking specifically about the developers, for those who work directly with AI technologies, we also continue our activities to prepare and develop standards in this area. We set up a separate technical committee for standardization in this area, and until 2024, we plan to develop and issue not less than 100 standards. 100 standards, and just because a round number, or we just count it like that, but we are being guided by the best practice all over the world, and we believe that this approximate quantity will be enough for that. In terms of standards, we've already prepared and placed for public discussion the first versions of standard for international information technologies in AI, video analytics, and terms and definitions are included there. As soon as they come up, we understand what we are working with. A term comes up, it's been standardized, it's clear what it means, and what kind of regulation is needed for this term, and where to move on. This is like a basis of the regulatory related to the area of AI. In parallel, we have another track in our ministry, and we've initiated it under the support of the digital economy company. Last year, the law on experimental laws was taken, and this year we adopted the law on Sputnik, which allows for a certain period of time on a certain territory to be exempt from the general regulation and to try to implement digital technologies which can be impaired by the general restrictions on the federal, governmental, or regional level. These are like sandboxes, regional sandboxes. We can tell you that part of the projects are, of course, connected with artificial intelligence in that scope, and this is taxi, of course, pilotless taxi, autonomous taxi, which we try to pilot and try on the Moscow streets and in other regions, and make them already available for the services and get some feedback from clients and to improve, to know the reaction of clients for this service. Next thing is delivery and shipments by drones, of heavy-duty drones. We are piloting it already in Tomsk region, and a number of other projects. So we provide regulation, legal regulation in this sphere, but we do it carefully. And so far, big companies didn't have serious issues that something prevents them from implementing AI, and they so far didn't provide any requirements in this regard. And we try not to exaggerate with, not to overdo with regulation in this regard. Thank you. In general, the structure is clear for the industries, and there is a big industry like public administration. Could you tell me, please, how artificial intelligence is used in public administration, and what are their plans for its development there? speaking about using the AI in public administration. And as far as I understand, your question is how we, as the executive bodies, implement it and what my colleagues do in this regard in other bodies and authorities. It's the same situation as with the industries and branches, if the maturity is there or not there. And openly speaking, not every authority has such business processes which allow to implement artificial intelligence. Let's be fair, not all federal constituents and regional agencies have finished the process of digitalization. We don't have high-quality internet in some places. But I started from bad things, right, from wrong things. Along with that, for federal bodies, for my colleagues, we all have plans of digital transformation, where we planned what we are about to change in our ministries, what processes should be needed, what not. We have also leaders from the point of view of AI implementation in their routine processes. Of course, this is the Federal Tax Service. It's number one. It has a big amount of data. Based on that data, they carry out their analysis on taxation, on payments, whatever else. And of course, they use artificial intelligence, they foster it, and they learn it and train it. On top of that, EMERCOM, Emergency Situations Ministry, they are in progress of finalizing solutions for automated detection of forest fires detection. And of course, our colleagues from Russian Ministry of Statistics, they have a huge amount of data. They all have their own neural network and their own AI network to build up indexes, different regular connections and matrices to analyze the situation from the point of view of statistics. As soon as an agency become mature for artificial intelligence, they make this decision that it's high time to do it, and they start to implement AI. Apart from implementation and also other things, we also pay attention to other areas in AI. We have an instruction of the government. Every agency should initiate and have initiated creation of data sets. Those data sets we accumulate, which are not confidential, and we offer those data sets for public measurements, for public events like hackathons, probably in conjunction with the other data which are used by different structures. This is one of the interesting projects of ours. That's what I wanted to tell you about the activities in federal agencies. Thank you. I remember a pilot project with Rossельхознадзор, and this agency is owner of Mercury system, which tracks and monitors all agricultural products like meat. And there was a question to use risk-based approach in order to detect counterfeited products. An inspector should be sent to the company, to the plant, or the processing plant, and the Mercury system can see and monitor all flows of meat products. And so it is obvious that the question is how to detect operations which shouldn't be done in this. For example, this amount of meat was processed, but the products which was received were less. This mismatch of quantities can be detected, and we helped how to detect the most risky areas, where to send inspectors and auditors, and how to control this process using the artificial intelligence. I think this case was quite successful. Thanks for your information. I'd like to discuss HR and education. What initiatives do you have in those areas in your federal project? As for HR and education, if you remember, we already touched upon the process that we just considered, let me, how it called, the ethics in artificial intelligence. And there was an issue that there's lack of trust there. Some people have prejudice, and these people should be handled with personally and tell them more about the artificial intelligence and how we can support them and help in different areas of their life. Predominantly, these are elderly people. But as for the youth, we see the growth of higher attention and interest towards artificial intelligence, desire to master different AI and digital professions. A lot of students enroll for additional courses, and they study, they really are curious about this topic, take part in startups, and they join Bortnik Foundation. In this project, and answering to this challenge from or demand from students, we envisaged development with the Ministry of Education, bachelorship and mastership programs on artificial intelligence. These programs be developed by strong institutions of our country. This is Moscow State University and St. Petersburg State University and many other universities and institutes. Until 2024, we will have 50 new curriculums. Some of them will be affordable and available for students already next year, because we are about to finalize and complete them. Next year, we are about to finalize those documents. It is very important that new programs can be implemented not only in the capital institutions, but also in regions. On top of that, the adults will be able to get additional education in the area of artificial intelligence. Depending on those skills they have for the moment, they can be requalified if necessary to such demanded and interesting specialization as data scientists and AI project manager. And people can acquire these skills in the area of artificial intelligence. On top of that, in order to popularize and communicate this area, in Russian regions we organize hackathons and workshops on the artificial intelligence. And this is made under the auspices of our federal agency. This year we already carried it out in Nizhny Novgorod, Kaliningrad, Stavropol, and other cities. By the end of 2024, hackathons and AI lectures will be held in every federal constituent in the Russian Federation. If you are interested in that, please, you're welcome to join. Starting from next year, we will have a larger scale hackathon in each federal constituent. They will be bigger. They will involve big data. More commercial companies will join these activities, and more partners will come. This is what we are doing. That's what we're doing from the educational point of view. Thank you. This is a very interesting and great story on additional education. When it's going to be launched, to be able to close this gap in HR, the deficit of talents. Even we in Sber, it is very hard to find a high-quality data scientist or project manager who has necessary competencies in AI projects. The market is overheated significantly, and any projects for students, for additional vocational trainings can be only welcome. And we discussed Russian initiatives, but Russia is not alone. There are international initiatives in this area. What is done together in cooperation with countries who are leaders in this, on the international agenda? Yes, of course, international agenda is always there, and from the very beginning of our talk, you remember, I mentioned our global rating for artificial intelligence and what is the place of our competitors and other countries. And proceeding from that, it is clear that cooperation is needed. So in October this year, the Russian government signed a memorandum on setting up the Professional Industrial Revolution Center. This is a global initiative of the International Economic Forum. This center will help to implement global projects in Russia and help to adopt best practices from all over the world for Russian digital business. On one platform, we will combine leaders of global industry, science, and business, of course, with involvement of leading Russian companies and state authorities, to implement the latest developments in the artificial intelligence and in digital technologies and digital standards area. I'd like to thank Sber, by the way, for promoting Russia in the international arena. And as far as I understand, Sber employee is a part of the Special Committee on Artificial Intelligence. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, that's true, you're right. He is the head of the task force on intergovernmental consulting for the Special Committee for International of the Council of Europe. Moreover, I have to tell you, an important event happened today. Today we signed an agreement with the Council of Europe. Sber, as a technological company, has become an associated technological partner, along with Google, Facebook, and other technological majors. Our company has become a technological partner of the Council of Europe. It's time to draw conclusions. Thank you very much for this interview, for this conversation. Speaking about the summarizing, what results do you see? What should happen to be able to say that the federal project was a success when we see this information from the horizon of 2024? Yes, a normal answer. Of course, we have indicators which would evaluate the federal project from its efficiency and efficacy point of view. But if we speak a simple language, which would be clear for everybody, there are two tasks, main tasks, which can be evaluated as a success or failure. First, the solution developed in the area of AI by Russian developers is competitive on the global arena, and some of those solutions are even superior. That would be the best evaluation for the state, that the state helped to develop this technology. The second criteria, apart from such solutions to become competitive, they should be also implemented on our grounds and have a network effect. It means that they are implemented not only on one enterprise, but many enterprises, many companies implement artificial intelligence and get high-quality results for their business. Probably these are two main tasks which I would consider as critical. Thank you very much for this talk. We had Vladislav Fedulov, Deputy of the Ministry of Economic Development, Head of the Federal Project Artificial Intelligence. Thank you very much, Vladimir. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye-bye.